Now, regarding the difference in the celebration of Christmas in the West and the East. Well, this difference initially arose due to variations in calculating the date of idol fascia Easter celebration. The first church document that recorded the establishment of the birth date of Christ is the Didascalia, or the Apostolic Constitutions, which states, "Brothers, observe the celebration of his birth Christmas on the 25th day of the 9th Hebrew month, which corresponds to the 29th day of the 4th month of Egypt." Luke 1:26 records that the announcement of the birth of Jesus by the angel Gabriel occurred in the 6th month. In the Hebrew calendar, there are two calculations: the sacred calendar, set since the return of the children of Israel from the Babylonian exile, starting from the month of Nisan around April, and the civil calendar, beginning from Tishrei or Ethanim around October. The 6th month in the Hebrew civil calendar is Adar, approximately, falling in March. According to the church's calculation at that time, Gabriel came to Mary on the 25th day of March, parallel to the second week of Adar to Nisan refer to the Hebrew calendar. This is the Id Bisirat el-Adzra. Mary receives the glad tidings. Consequently, the birth of Jesus falls on the 25th day of the Hebrew month Tebeth Kanan el-Oel, around December 25th. In liturgical texts, this day is referred to as Christmas or Id al-Milad. Interestingly, this calculation aligns with the conjunction of the planets Jupiter and Saturn in December of the year 7 BC. However, why is there now a difference in celebrating Christmas between the Western Church on December 25th and the Eastern Church on January 7th? Note that this difference is not due to the fundamental facts, but stems from the variance in calculations between the Western Gregorian calendar and the Old Julian calendar still used in Eastern churches. The initial determination of church festivities was accurately calculated from Egypt. An Egyptian church astronomer named Batlimous, in the late 2nd century CE, meticulously calculated this under the orders of Baba Dimitri or Demetrius, who served as the Patriarch of Alexandria from 199 to 232. The Egyptian calendar was based on the appearance of the star Sirius, recognized by UNESCO as the most accurate calendar compared to any other calendar system ever created. Thus, the first establishment of Christmas fell on the 29th day of the month, Kiak. In the Roman Empire at that time, the Julian calendar was in use. Julius Caesar established this calendar in 46 BC, based on the solar cycle, counting 700 years from the founding of Rome. There was an error in the Julian calendar at some point, and an Egyptian astronomer, Sisigynus, corrected it by aligning it with the Coptic year of 365 days. This calendar was followed by the entire church, both in the East and West, until the 16th century CE. In 1582, Pope Gregory of Rome modified the Julian calendar, known as the Gregorian calendar, which is followed by the Western Church to this day, both Catholic and Protestant. Meanwhile, the Eastern churches have continued to use the Julian calendar from ancient times until now. Now, regarding the difference in the celebration of Christmas in the West and the East. Well, this difference initially arose due to variations in calculating the date of idol fascia Easter celebration. Specifically, the Western Church determines Easter to fall precisely on the full moon of spring. This follows the Jewish Passover tradition. However, the Jewish calendar is lunar, consisting of only 354 days per year, creating a 10-day difference with the solar calendar. In this case, the Jewish Passover consistently falls on the full moon due to the lunar cycle. This is different for Christian Easter, calculated based on the solar cycle. As a result, in other years, the full moon occurs before Christian Easter. Hence, in the West, the celebration of Easter needs to be adjusted. Meanwhile, Eastern churches always calculate Easter to fall on a Sunday, irrespective of the exact full moon. As the reference is no longer the sacrifice of the Passover lamb in the Jewish calendar, as Jesus himself is our Passover lamb 1 Corinthians 5-7. On October 5, 1582, the Gregorian calendar advanced by 10 days. Subsequently, one day was omitted in the year 1700, 1800, and 1900. Consequently, those 10 days plus 3 days became 13 days. The calculation became different, but because the Western calendar prevailed, the accurate count of the Eastern Church, namely the 29th of Kiak, or the 25th of Tebeth, had to yield. Hence, it now consistently falls on January 7-6, when calculated from the Western calendar, that advanced by 13 days. According to Eusebius of Caesarea to 65340, a church historian, Migdal Eder, located 1,000 feet from Bethlehem, is where the shepherds received the news of Jesus' birth. This place is the same as Migdal Eder, mentioned in Genesis 35-21. Migdal Eder, meaning Tower of the Flock, Eugene Hode, Guide to the Holy Land. In his writings, especially the Acts of the Apostles, Luke's account has been proven accurate by recent archaeologists. In connection with the birth of Christ, Luke writes, "And in the same region there were shepherds out in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night." Luke 2:8. A common question arises: if the liturgical calendar of the Church is accepted, stating that Jesus Christ was born on December 25th, or January 6th according to Eastern churches, is it possible that there were flocks tended in the fields at night in winter? This question is intriguing, but unfortunately, the tendency to underestimate this church tradition is often accompanied by insufficient understanding of the ancient Jewish background concerning the expectations of the arrival of the Messiah. The above question can be answered as follows. In accordance with Jewish messianic expectations, it seems that what Luke referred to as the shepherd's field was not an ordinary shepherd's field. Instead, it points to Migdal Eder, or the Tower of the Flock, mentioned in Genesis 35-21 and Micah 4-8. Genesis 35:16-22 accounts the death of Rachel during the birth of Benjamin, who was then buried on the road to Ephrath, which is Bethlehem. Rachel's tomb remains in Bethlehem to this day, a structure with a white dome with a menorah on top, and it is inscribed Kuburahel, meaning Rachel's tomb. Based on records from ancient pilgrims, the church constructed a chapel, now known as Saul al-Rawat Shepherd's Field, located in Beit Sahor, Bethlehem. The Arabic term Beit Sahor, Beit equals house, and Sahur equals watched, commemorates the shepherds who kept watch during the night. As this location was likely enclosed, possibly surrounded by a fortress, the Talmud, Bazah 40a, and Septa Bazah 4-6.4 state, the sheep in that field were left to graze both in the summer and in the rainy season.